The legendary David Price joins us today on his journey from hustle to hypergrowth, on how he built a $1 million a month agency in 6 months by owning his market.
You know, in my mid 30s, I was just like, I'm not really working towards something that's going to give me the goals that I had when I was a kid. When I was a teenage boy, like, you know, playing basketball on the street and riding my bikes and stuff like that. And I have a choice. I could give up on my like childhood goals and dreams. And I decided that I was going to reinvent myself. So I believed in systems and processes.
Welcome back, everybody. Today's guest, someone we've known and worked with for years, and someone who's been breaking all their traditional rules and winning big because of it. He's built an 8-figure agency from scratch, launched his own IMO, and built it to a $1 million a month agency and IMO in 6 months, guys. And he's helping agents make 6 figures faster than most people update their LinkedIns. So before we introduce him, though, Elle, can you tell us where agents can find all the resources, show notes, and all the goodies we got for them?
Absolutely. So if you want the notes for this podcast and anything that we mentioned here, head on over to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast.
Love it. Love it. Please welcome the founder of the Price Group, Mr. David Price.
Man, what a great intro, man. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Super great to be here, man. So cool. We met. What was it? It was right after, I guess, after everything calmed down from COVID, right? When we finally got to meet in person. So definitely been a blessing hanging out and getting to know you guys. So awesome, man. Love the background.
Thank you. We try to be bright and colorful, right? I think they call it peacocking. I don't know. I think that's what I call it. But you're right. We've been circling each other for a while, and it was cool. We used to live within 5 to 10 minutes of each other in Cape Coral, and just had never gotten together, never met. And so it was had you by the office, had lunch. Actually, I don't even remember if we actually ate. I think we just talked, right? So, we had, and then everything from there has been fantastic. And now we both have moved to different places, and I think we'll talk a little bit about how you've grown both the business, but also like really designed the business to fit, personal goals in life as well, which has been awesome. So we'll have to come out and visit you in Puerto Rico. So it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, so go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, come on down. We got plenty of room for you, So I think you guys are gonna end up relocating out of here eventually anyway. So if you come visit, you will. That's how it works.
There we go. We'll add it to the list of countries live in throughout the year, right? So we'll come by, spend some time in Puerto Rico.
Definitely down for a visit to Puerto Rico. Let's go.
David makes all the food look good. Just don't drag me to CrossFit, David. So I might not come back if you do. So, but with that said, I want to talk a little bit for maybe the few people out there that haven't heard you or your story, as I think a lot have through the years. It's just really, really grown. It's just been amazing. But let's talk a little bit about that. I know you love superheroes. Those are watching closely in the background can see a few things. So on that background there, and I know the hero's journey, right? And I think your own journey reflects that in a lot of ways in trials, tribulations, which you put in place in that growth. So, you first got into insurance 2018, and what made you even look at this industry in the first place, and really come into this opportunity?
It's funny when you ask that. So when I was a teenage boy, playing basketball on the street and riding my bikes and stuff like that, there's two people. It was one of my mother's friends. He was in insurance, and then one of my friends' father was in insurance, and I didn't have a lot growing up. At that point, we're doing better than we were earlier in my childhood, and I just remember I was like, it just seemed like they had money. They seemed like they had money, and my mom's friend seemed like he had some money. Nothing crazy, right? But just living, more comfortably than we were living. And he told me, if you get a college degree, I'll get you an interview. So right there, it automatically clicked in my head to sell insurance or be in that industry, you needed a 4-year college degree. So I completely eliminated myself. It was my plan, right? I was like 12 or 13. I was like, cool, I already got my job lined up. I got a degree. I just got to get a degree. I already got my interview. I'm sure they'll hire me, right? And then, life happens and, took other journey, joined the Army and worked as a contractor and did a zillion other things. And then, in my mid 30s, I was just like, man, I'm not really working towards something that's going to give me the goals that I had when I was a kid, right? And when I was a kid, I had these big goals, and I wanted to drive exotic cars and live in nice homes and just do cool things and have a bunch of money and go on vacations and this stuff. When you're a kid and you think it's just like not that hard and you could do it if you want to. And I was in my mid 30s. I'm like, well, there's nothing I'm doing right now that's actually going to get me that. And I have a choice. I could give up on my like childhood goals and dreams, like most do, or like in my mid 30s, so I want to make a change. Like now would be the time to make the change. And I decided that I was going to reinvent myself. I was going to find whatever it was. Like I wasn't going to do something that wasn't going to get me what I wanted. So I wanted to be able to live wherever I want. I wanted to be able to work with whoever I want, and I wanted to be able to do whatever I want. So I needed those 3 things. So I knew I couldn't be working in a business that was going to keep me in there all day long, and that wasn't it. So I knew what I wanted. So now it was a matter of like, what was the vehicle that was going to get me there? And I started looking at different things, and I did some network marketing before. I did own some business before. I had a construction company that was pretty successful, but had a lot of moving parts, and I was like kind of a slave to my employees, right? Because if they don't show up to work, I was like in a really bad position. And then I did disaster work, which was really cool. But then like once things, got panned out or enough people got there, like the opportunity shrank really fast. And I was just like, all right, so what is it? So I believed in systems and processes. So I'm like, all right, maybe I need to find like franchise. Like a franchise system would be really cool because it's like proven, and I just have to like follow their system, and if I follow their system, I'll have success. And they can basically predict how much money I'll make, and it's all very predictable. And I was talking to my one buddy, so his brother owned the rights for all these I think it was playa bowls maybe, and I might be wrong, but it was like basically those fruit bowls. He owned the rights for any franchise in like South Florida with that. So I was like talking to him, I was like, you think I should buy the rights off him? And he's like, don't worry, my brother would happily rip you off. Hopefully he doesn't see this, right? But it's super funny, right? So my friend's got humor like me. But anyway, so I'm asking him, I'm like, his parents were very successful, and he's very successful. And I was just like, man, just I got to find that right business opportunity. And he was in insurance. And he's like, man, so-and-so is doing real well in insurance. You should maybe talk to them. And I was like, insurance? Well, that's a great business to be in. Now I know someone that's in it. So maybe I don't need my 4-year degree. Maybe he could get me an interview, right? It's so crazy, but like, that's what I'm thinking. And it's so crazy because there's going to be insurance agents that watch this, and like, a Dave Price that doesn't think they qualify. You need to talk to him, right? And like, that's the moral of the story. And I reached out to our mutual friend, and he kind of blew me off. I know now that he didn't want to hire me. He didn't think that I would be a good fit. He didn't want to hire me. So I had to go back to my friend Joey. We'll give it a name, Joey. And I was like, Joey, so-and-so is not even he won't answer my calls. And he's like, really? He's like, I'll take care of it. So he like had to like lobby for me. Like he had it's like, yo, Dave's a grinder. Like, you want to work with Dave. And he finally talked him into willing to hire me as an insurance agent at an 80% contract, right? Like he was giving me this giant independent, but you buy your own leads. Like really, like he was giving me this huge break. And that was it, and when I looked at the opportunity, there was a couple of things that were important to me. One, he was successful. So I believe that he can show me how to be successful, right? So, because I believe in mentorship. 2, I understand that you need people to talk to. And I didn't have people to talk to. I didn't want to try to figure that out on my own. I wanted, something that would give me the people to talk to. So leads or some kind of system or process for that was super important. That didn't mean like me just finding people on my own. So those are the two things. Those are really the only two things. I didn't know about contract levels. I didn't know about product. I didn't know anything else. And then results, it's like, do you really have people that get their insurance license and within 12 months make six figures? Is that possible? And he said, he's like, yes, you can. If you follow the system, you can. So I'm like, all right, well, I trust this guy. Why would he lie to me? And that's how I ended up getting my insurance license. So it was pretty crazy because I wish, I guess my mom's friend didn't tell me I needed a 4-year degree, and maybe I could have just like done that when I became 18 and been retired by now.
Could have skipped that, but I think the journey is part of it, right? And I think that's something I want to dive in a little bit on that. Like you grew fast originally. I mean, you built $1 million agency in your first 3 years originally, and now you built $1 million a month agency within 6 months, and I think it hit $1 million as far as an agency within less than 90 days of you getting started. And so I'd like to evaluate a little bit, if you think back on what did your mindset and everything look like when you first started in this industry versus when you started your IMO?
Yeah, it's definitely I remember like earlier days before I was making 7 figures, right? When the goal is to be a millionaire. Really the first goal is to make 6 figures. That was it. Like my thing was like, cool, if I make $100,000 a year, like I'm set. Like that was the ceiling I was putting on myself. I just wanted to be able to make $100,000 a year. And and once you're able to do that and you're like, all right, cool, I knocked that out, and you're like, wow, maybe I could make $1 million, maybe I could be a millionaire. And I thought about that, and I'm like, cool, how do you become a millionaire? And a lot of times I think people think they make the million and then they change into that millionaire. And then I like, no, dude, if you want to be a millionaire, you have to act like it first. And then I started all my decisions and stuff like, cool, like how would a millionaire respect their time? Would a millionaire do this? And you start looking at those things and you start lining up your mindset and your habits to align up with the person you're trying to be. And I thought that was super important. And I think that helped me a lot through my journey because, early on, it's you're making excuses of why things aren't working. You're looking for people to co-sign, right? When you're not having success, I feel like human beings, when they're not having success, they want to find people that are going to agree with why they're not having success. Like, hey, David, these leads suck, don't they? And I'm going to ask the other guy that's not selling, because of course he's going to agree, because I'm not going to go up to the guy that's crushing it and be like, these leads suck, don't they? And like, no, you suck. I'm like, wait, you're not co-signing my crap, and I think that's what agents do a lot in the beginning, is when they're not winning, they're going to find the other person not winning, and they all want to agree on why they're not winning, and they want to point out all these different things. And I share a lot, addict and recovery. And I remember someone saying to me one time, and they said, like, if everything else is the problem, you're screwed, because you can't fix everything else. And if you realize you're the problem, guess what? You got a chance. And that was like dealing with like recovery and drug addict stuff and like just being a bad person and all those things. I'm like, oh, cool, well, that works really good in entrepreneurship as well. Just life. Like if I found myself arguing with multiple people in a single day, or a lot of extra people in a week, I'm like, all right, what's wrong with me? Right. I'm the common denominator in this. So, the mindset's super important. And, the change comes with experience. Everyone wants to change without moving, and you can't change without moving. I use like different metrics. For instance, our lead company, we spend $100,000-$200,000 a month in ad spend to Facebook. Guess what? I have the experience of somebody that spends $100,000-$200,000 in ad spend in Facebook, right? You can't compare your journey, or not you, but the person's journey, and spending $20-$40 a day with our journey, because we learned some things, we broke stuff along the way, and that's it, right? It's just like the process of being a human being. And like, it's like your teenage self that thinks they got the whole world figured out. and your parents look at you as like, dude, like I wish you just listened to some stuff and save some pain, right? Because they went through the experience, they had the pitfalls and the made the mistakes, and they had the wins and they had the losses and stuff like that. And that's the same thing. Like everyone wants a shortcut experience, and like the experience is what makes you who you are. And you spoke about me doing $1 million in a very short period of time, and then like getting up to 8 figures, and then starting fresh and being able to do it again in 6 months, right? I mean, I predict we'll do pretty damn close, if not 8 figures this year, which will be our first year. And it's like, did you do that? Did you really do that the first year? It's like, no, it didn't take me a year to do that. It took me 6 years of experience and then a year to go at it, right? Because I have the experience now. I know exactly how to do it. I know where I made my mistakes, and I could do it a lot faster. It's like, we already know the trail, so we got that.
I love that. And just highlighting the journey, not looking at the end result and being like, oh, that just happened. It happened overnight. Like David just, knows way more than everybody, but the journey that led you there. I mean, I have to brag on you. You're probably one of the most focused individuals I know, and most disciplined as a part of that. And I think being able to pull all those experiences, the knowledge from those experiences out has been huge. And like you said, talked about change. I mean, nothing changes unless things change, but change is uncomfortable. And I remember one of the first things you told us, like, hey, I got to where I got to because I did the things I didn't want to do, and I just did them every day. So even coming back to that story of originally, door knocking and like, hey, I'm going to pretend I'm a robot, open the door, go knock the door, come back, go to the next house, do the same thing over, no pauses, no breaks. So I don't give my chance to have the out, and we're disciplined in that. So I love that side. And I know we can spend hours and hours talking on mindset, experience, and shift, but I want to move to one of Elle's favorite things, talking about systems and processes, which I know you're all about, and that's a big part of growing and scaling the agency side.
Yeah. What would surprise most agents about what it really takes to grow fast in this business?
It's a good question. And
I like it a lot.
David sets it up with this process and system, but like, there's a clip of Elon Musk, and I think a news reporter is asking him something along the lines like, aren't you worried about somebody copying you or duplicating you? And he stops for a second and he smirks and he smiles and he says, what's their pain threshold? And when I seen that, I listen, I'm not Elon Musk, level at all. That guy's a robot, but like, I understand that, right? Because when you grow fast, you break things fast. You deal like, I don't deal with spreadsheets, and I mean, I do, but like, I deal with people. I deal with real people, with real emotions, with real problems. So you deal with the good, you deal with the bad, and when you grow fast, it's an uncomfortable place to be, and it's where we thrive, and we do a great job with it, but definitely you have to be able to handle that. And I have I would say people can typically handle a certain amount of production, right? Because I believe that each amount of production comes with a certain amount of problems. If you're doing $100,000 a month, you have certain agents, you have certain actions happening, and then you have so many problems that are equal to that. And the person that manages that, they can handle that, or they can't handle it, or they can handle just that, and they can't grow any further. And some people can handle 200,000, 300,000. For some reason, God's given me the ability to handle problems at scale and be able to deal with a lot of people, a lot of personalities, and still keep my cool most of the time, and still be calm and have answers for these people, and make them believe in what we're doing still to continue to move forward and continue to grow. And I look at that a lot because I seen that over the years. I seen certain people will just get stuck at a certain production amount. And it's because it's an extra level of discomfort to break through that they're just not willing to do, and that's my job. I had tough call with I think it was yesterday. Poor everyone. I worked yesterday, so it was yesterday was Memorial Day since this isn't live. And yeah, I worked yesterday, and I had a lot of tough calls with a lot of people, and I felt bad. I woke up in the morning, I was like, I'm about to go on a rampage today, and it's a holiday, and everyone's gonna wonder why the hell I'm working on a holiday, going on a rampage. But like, my calendar was pretty empty. I only had a couple of calls on my calendar, so it was a good day to catch up with some people. But like ultimately, the goal is like, how do I help this person do more? And typically, people are just stuck in a certain place. It's their comfort zone. And the truth of the matter is they don't know any better. They don't know they're stuck. They think they're doing everything they need to grow. I can see it because I've been there, and I've been in all these stages. I've been in all these spots. So I'm just like, hey, just let you know, you're not working. You're working, but you're doing enough work to maintain. And I know what your goals are, and you're not where your goal is. So if you want to get your goal, we got to go back to work. We got some stuff to do. And this is what you should be doing, and obviously everyone's working, and no one's ever want to be told that that they're not working, especially when they feel like they're working. But I'm a man that I don't like to use a lot of words, so I'm going to be right. I don't sugarcoat, because you have to use extra words to sugarcoat. So I'm just going to try to say what I want to say in as least words as possible, and hope that I could do it in a way that does motivate you. And I'm wrong sometimes. Definitely had to, make some apologies. Okay, cool. That one didn't work. The job was to motivate you, but ultimately, it's trying to figure out how to deal with a lot of personalities, and everyone's different. The way I push David is going to be different than the way I push L, right? If I was trying to push you guys ever, I don't know if I ever pushed David's buttons before, but if I was, I would have to push his buttons in a different way I push L's buttons. I don't know if I know how to push L's buttons, but again, that's the biggest thing. I mean, systems and processes are all super, super important, but like to me, that's like math, right? And like math is just math. It's always the same, and it's you could count on it. Like it's math. And when you're dealing with personalities, now you're dealing with something that doesn't always 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It's like, okay, well, that didn't work. So I think that's probably what I'm good at.
I really like that you talk about the breakage in business, because I think that is a huge misconception that things scale smoothly. But I think about it like it's like working out or growing your muscles. Like your muscles literally have to break in order for them to grow and get stronger. And I love that you're talking about that, and that's also just such a key part of your success. And then the level of pain tolerance, like that's also like working out. It's like you think that you're really pushing yourself to your max, but are you really? Are you actually maxing out what you can do, or are you staying in that level of comfort? So good. So good.
Yeah. If you can't handle the splinter or the hangnail, then building a business may not be for you based on the threshold there. But and I loved what I took away of one of those a lot of amazing points you mentioned, but we can only really rise to our ability to handle problems and solve them. Mm-hmm. And at that point, there's more to learn or to grow to be able to handle that next level. And then you've gone through these experiences and to the point where, you can handle a lot of pain, a lot of problems at one time, and solving those and pushing forward, especially in alignment with your vision on that as well. And, I know one thing you talk about a lot is like simplicity, and how that is a big factor in growing business and scaling. What do you feel that most agents like overcomplicate, or that you see happen a lot?
Yeah, the thing I definitely see a lot is, an agent will start going down like let's say you're coaching an agent, or I'm coaching an agent, and you're like, all right, cool. To be successful, this is the beginning of the path, and you're going to follow this path straight down until you get to this spot, and then you follow this over there. And then they get halfway down that path and like, I don't know if this is the path I want to take. And then they come back to the beginning, and then they choose a different path. And then like, well, this one's kind of wet and muddy. And then they come back and so they just get lost in just like trying all these different things. And, Hormozy said something really cool. And he's like, if you can suck for something for a year, you could beat most people at most things. And, dude, it's so on because, you're edifying me like this person that had like all the success and stuff. And, I've done well, but like, dude, my first 6 months sucked. And I was about to quit this business, and, I was about to go find my new path, and I'm talking to different people, and I'm looking at different lead sources, and I'm wondering if I should be selling a different way, and I'm questioning everything, and I'm doing that cosign crap, and I'm talking to everyone else not happy to make sure we could all not be happy together. And then luckily I was in a place where I was mature enough to like stop for a second. And it's, this was something that went on for weeks, maybe months. And then I just realized, I was like, wait a second, I'm sabotaging myself. I am 100% sabotaging myself. That person over there is having success. That person over there is having success. There's some people over there having success. I'm not having success. It's my fault, my problem. And it's because of my mindset. How the hell am I going to be having success if I'm looking at something else? Right. And that's what agents do. They typically will spend so much time and so much energy and so much work trying to avoid doing the work. And it's like, whoa, hold on a second. You just made this way harder than you had to. Just do the work. Just do these things. And that's the biggest one. Like, I think my ability to get an agent to trust our processes and systems and commit to them long enough to have success is really the foundation of my success. Because if you look at like leadership, that's what leadership is. And if you can't get people to follow that, you have no chance to help them be successful. And the biggest thing when people ask, like, well, how do you do that? And I say, always tell the truth. And that's another thing, is because a lot of times people want to recruit these people, and they're like, man, well, if I want to hire a David and Al, I'm going to have to tell them like, oh yeah, guys, you'll make like $1 million this year working part-time. And the leads are so good, they actually pay you. We'll pay you to take the leads. They're so freaking good. And then you guys get started, and you guys like, all right, cool. Where's these leads that pay you? And how's everything? I'm like, nah, I didn't say any of that. Didn't say, and then right there, we just broke the trust barrier. Now that nothing else I say, you're going to listen to and follow. So like, my ability to lead you and show you the way to be successful is non-existent anymore. And I think that's what happens a lot in this industry, is a lot of times people, they fib a lot. And because they fib a lot, they don't build the trust, and you might get over on them like short term, but people continue to think, and they analyze, and then they realize you're full of, and then at that point they don't listen to anything you say. And then you wonder why you can't retain agents, or why eventually they leave, because, they realize that you weren't putting their best interest first.
Love it. And so I want to talk a little bit about the industry as well, right? Like, it's an industry that's been around since, I don't know, time was invented. Like, it's an old industry, a very important industry, and one that's not going anywhere, probably just getting more important every day on that side. But there's been things and ways that this industry has been done for a very, very long time. And a lot of technology, a lot of things have shifted, a lot of things have changed. Facebook ads, for example, have been invented and stuff on that side. So as far as from your perspective, what do you feel that you've embraced or done differently or leaned into maybe than the industry like traditionally?
Yeah, the first pivot we had was telesales. Obviously we weren't the ones to invent telesales or make it up. But when I started, I was told we take the lead, we show up to their door, and we say, hey, you filled this out, and we talk to them, and we deal with it on the front door and try to figure out how to get in the house and do a presentation. And effective that could be, but what I definitely realized is, nobody wants to force themselves into someone's front door. You could pretend you do, you could act like you like it, but at the end of the day, dude, it's not good for your soul. Everyone knows that. You know what I mean? We could all lie to ourselves. And luckily for I guess lucky is not the right word, but COVID happened. Obviously, it wasn't luck for everything, right? But COVID happened, and it did change my business drastically. And when that happened, I went from telling people don't ever pick up the phone, go to their front door, get in the house, do a presentation, make a sale, to all right, guys, we're gonna do everything 100% on the phone, and we're good to go. We already got the training we need. We're just gonna start now, And I had a lot of fear at that time, but you got to make decisions. You got to stick with them, right? That's something I heard before, is like making decisions the hard part. Once you make the decision, then you just follow through with it. That's, that should be the easy part, actually, right? We do the opposite. We make decisions and then make it following through with our decision. We make that the hard part for some reason. But yeah, we had our best month 100% on the phone. And we did it with direct mail leads. We did it without a dialer. We did it without a CRM. We did it lowest tech possible. We might as well have been mailing letters to sell policies. And we had agents breaking records, and it blew my mind. And that was like my first, like, okay, cool, I've been wrong, right? And I love being wrong. I love being wrong. I love losing, because that means there's like room for improvement. And I was like, all right, the phones is where it's at. So then we started doubling down on that. And, it wasn't overnight. We did 2013, we issued 17,000 policies at $15 million in business. And again, we did that without a CRM. We did that on like basically clipboards and cell phones, just people wanting to help people. And, as we moved into, my own IMO, then it was nice. Now I was like, all right, cool. This is my system. We're going to do this right. We rolled out CRM. We rolled out a dialer. We rolled out our own lead system. We actually tracked some data the other day. So this is actually really cool. So we're able to track our inbound calls now of the leads that decide to call us before we call them. 25 to 40% of our leads actually call you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we were guessing on the number. Yeah, we were guessing on that number, but think about that. So an agent buys 10 leads for $270, $27 a lead, and they're going to get 2 to 4 of them call them. So like if you really like factored in like live transfer pricing and stuff on that, like I think that's pretty strong. And then obviously the more you get, the better those numbers are. But yeah, so now it's about like really, a lot of my time is spent on how do I make it easier for an agent to be successful? The goal is, if you want to be an agent, you're working with me, how do I keep you on the phone talking to people that want insurance most parts of the day? That's it. Like, how do I do that? And there's a lot of technology. There's a lot more technology coming out. There's AI. There's so many different things. Everyone is in my DMs pitching me on something new, or my emails every single day, and trying to screen all that out and figure out what calls to take and what calls not to take. But ultimately, I feel like what I get hyper focused on happens, and the just getting hyper focused on how to keep agents on the phone, how to keep them on the phone for the lowest cost possible with the highest quality of leads. That's the goal.
I love it. So you've leaned into throughout your whole career, but I think even more so maybe last 6 months, you've leaned into video, social, transparency. I know that's always been big and important to you. But what role has content played in your growth at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm so surprised you asked.
I know, right?
So back in my network marketing days, I joined a network marketing team, and this team created their leads with social media, and they had a social media system, and they taught the social media system. I taught the social media system, right? We wanted to be duplicatable, and we use that to create leads for people looking to buy the product that we want to buy, right? It was a very deliberate system. Post a day, a power post on Sunday, how to get people to comment on stuff. Like this was back before I had my insurance license, before we knew each other. And at a certain point, actually, when I got my insurance license, I wanted to be focused, right? I'm a hedgehog, as Elle says. I wanted to be focused on one thing. So even though I was making a little bit of money with my network marketing company, I didn't want it to take away from what I was trying to do, right? Because if my network marketing company was getting me where I wanted to go, I wouldn't have got my insurance license. That's a little tip for people out there trying to do more than one thing, and just understand if that one thing was getting you where you want to go, you wouldn't be looking for that second, third, fourth, or eighth thing. So I had to make a decision. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm done network marketing. That's it. I'm done. I'm not doing it, putting it on shelf or throwing it away, not doing it. But I understood the power of creating an audience on social media. And I decided that I was just going to keep following the system. Obviously some tweaks, because I wasn't trying to sell weight loss shakes to anyone anymore. But a lot of that was also motivation, because I was looking for people that want to build businesses, and stuff like that as well. So from day one, as my insurance license, I already had an audience. I already was building my personal brand. I was already, building that machine that you guys teach to build in some of your organic social media stuff that you teach. Like, I already had that. So it was really good, because from day one, I was documenting everything. Hey, just sold my first policy. Hey, just got these leads of people looking for insurance. Let's go see if I could help them. Just hired my first agent, just trained my first agent. And I just documented, bought my first house, bought my first brand new car, it just happens to be an M5, right? So I just documented the whole thing. So if you really go back to TPG, that's it. Look at that. We're back. 100% of organic social media. That was too much suspense for Elle right there. She was waiting to see what I said out.
We're like, what's he gonna say next?
But yeah. So realistically, if it wasn't for organic social media, I don't think I would be where I'm at now. Right. Once I got the organic machine rolling, and I was creating recruiting leads basically from it, and I got to a certain point, then it's like, all right, how do you turbocharge that? And that's when you start spending some money on ads and job postings and stuff like that. But I would never have got to that place to be able to spend that money if I didn't have an organic social media playbook to follow.
I love that story and that journey, and moving it from the previous experience into this one. Something Elle talks with me a lot is, what was the industry looking like going forward, and some of the tech and AI, some of the changes, and we like make predictions, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. Maybe she does or doesn't, but
it doesn't sound like
it. I know, right? Yeah.
I'm not sure where he's going with this.
Well, I wanted to hear some of
the camera's going back out.
Some of David's kind of thoughts on kind of industry over the next 6 months, next year or so. What you kind of see changing and embracing, what may be opportunities in that space.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I mean, everyone's talking about AI. You got some companies out there trying to replace the agent, and you're saying 6 months to a year. So 6 months to a year, I don't feel like there's anything that's going to drastically affect the industry. There's a couple of things that we do have working for us. We got 11,000 people turn 65 every day until 2070. So that's when I plan on retiring, 2070. Once that slows down, I'm going to take advantage of the gold rush. So that helps. And then everyone's talking about AI, but what I'm seeing with AI, right, and I'm sure you guys see it as well, is people are relying too heavily on it. And all of a sudden now you see all this content written by AI in your newsfeed, and it's no one's interested in reading that, and I think about Instagram versus TikTok, how Instagram became this place where everyone was just beautiful. Everything was just amazing. Everything just looked good. And at first it was super cool. And then it was oh, this is just all fake. I don't like it anymore. Where if you look at TikTok, it looks like regular people. You don't see all the filters. You don't see all this fakeness. And then you're wow, look at this person. This person looks like they could be my grandpa, and they got 100 million followers, and they're just catching lizards. How the heck, and with AI, I think people like a personal experience. I think that the people that don't know how to use it correctly, and the people that spend so much time being fake, because I get those emails, those AI emails. You don't read them. You'll read a couple words. You're like, this isn't real, right? No one wants to hear David. No one wants to read David Price's AI bot writing social media posts, because it's not real, right? People like
I don't know. I think people might pay for that.
I kind of want to see the baby David AI.
The AI, well, no, the AI David Price, like coach me like David. I think people would pay for that.
It's got to be prepared to cry.
Let's
got to be prepared to cry.
Let's get a sales system. Let's sell the product. Let's hit your list.
It out, yeah.
But yeah, I think that people want people to be authentic. I mean, it's worked for me. So I think in the short time period we're good. Long period, who knows? I went to an event and they're talking about like there's not going to be cars anymore, or like everyone's going to take taxis, because basically the taxis are going to be self-driving. And you're going to get in a self-driving taxi and they're going to have a screen in front of you and they're going to know everything about you. And there's going to play perfectly targeted ads for you. And the person playing these perfectly targeted ads, they're paying for the car ride.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you don't have to pay for a taxi, why would you own a car? And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So the world's definitely going to start changing a lot faster for sure. I think with AI and tech. But I think that, just like everything else, like, the cell phone, right? Or just like everything, it doesn't eliminate the person. It just, the person learns to adapt with it. And I think that will be the case for sure.
I love it. All right. Last two questions. I promise. I promise I'd ask this, and I think it's really, really important on, what is your proudest moment that has nothing to do with numbers? I know you love numbers, but your proudest moment that has nothing to do with numbers.
Yeah, there was, people get their insurance license and build a business, and they can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, majority of people do it for money, right? Money is just a necessary thing to pay bills and stuff like that. And, I seen agents just make a lot of decisions that were people first decisions, where they gave up money. They were there for other people. And like, to me, like to have a culture where like people are just, and we're talking about sales too. Like, we're not talking about like the church networking group, right? We're talking about like, salespeople that make their money 100% commission, making decisions that maybe had some unknowns and that might cost them money in the short term, and not even know if they even get that. And like, be able to make decisions without even like a question or a thought, and just doing what they thought was right, because a lot of times, I've definitely made decisions based off money. We all have, right? We all got to survive. It's like, hey, I could do this and not pay rent, or I got to do this and pay the rent. But just to see the amount of people make decisions, based off of what they thought they were right, man, just make me, feel super proud that I'm working with the right people, and people that I want to work with long term, and like seeing that like growth for them to become that person that they can do that.
I love that. All right. Last question. What's one truth bomb or reality check you'd give to every new or struggling agent listening right now?
I never do those things. Yeah. So, there's a big saying, people talk about like the high percentage of people that don't make it in the insurance industry. And I think I've hired over 5,000 agents. I mean, I've personally mentored a lot of agents closely, probably hundreds of agents, not as closely. Probably had thousands of agents come through and have contracts with me at some point. And I have a zillion of experience. I have a zillion of experience. And the one thing that I can tell you that I observed from my sample size is the high percentage of agents that fail don't actually fail. They actually just don't start. And, you know, they don't even put in the work that they would put in if they're working for somebody else. So, you know, realistically, I typically don't see agents fail that give it 100%, you know, and if an agent's failing, you know, they really got to look at themselves and like, what are they doing to try to be successful? And if they forget like what that means, it means like talking to people about selling insurance, you know, and typically I would say 5 of them a day, like 5 full presentations about what your product is a day. And if you're like not fighting and screaming and doing whatever you got to do to figure out how to do that, then you're not working yet, you know. And if you're like, I don't know how to find people, and you know, and you're at that spot where it's like, I can't pay my bills, I need money, I don't know what to do, I need to do, like walk out your front door and knock on your neighbor's door and continue down the street. Because if I was starving and that was the only way I could eat, I would have no problem doing it. And people have made great livings like that for a long time. You know, selling vacuum cleaners and Bibles and encyclopedias, I guess not Bibles, and encyclopedias and everything else. So realistically, you know, if you are an agent and you're watching this, I love you, I care about you, I want you to win. And that's why I want to be honest and truthful to you. You got to figure out how to get those 5 presentations a day at all costs. And if you do that consistently for a year straight, I promise you, you'll be completely different at the end of that year. And maybe that first 6 months might be bumpy, but I promise you that second year, you're going to be a successful insurance agent if you're not already.
Love it.
Amazing. 5 presentations a day. Love it.
Yeah.
David, where can people connect with you, follow you, plug into what you're building?
Yeah, of course. We got the website, obviously, tpglife.com. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube as David Price Official. And that's it. Those are good ways to find me. You could always email me, David@TPGLife, and you know, always here. And then obviously our Facebook group, we are insurance agents. You're always welcome to join that. And I try to answer 100% of the questions in there.
Such an active community. I love all of the stories that agents share inside of that group. It's so inspiring. Definitely a good one to join for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate
Awesome.
it. You guys have an amazing group as well. And I'm so glad I joined that. So I got to meet you guys, or else I would never have found you guys. So
I
feel
know,
like you got your
social
RI
media
on that
is where
group
it's
just from
at,
that.
right?
So that's it.
I love
You make
it. Thank you,
friends.
David. Exactly. It's the perfect place to make friends, right? So, we appreciate you so much, David. And we thank you so much for taking the time. We'll definitely be doing some more podcasts together. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to the Modern Insurance Agents podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you.